My 24F boyfriend, 27M, left for a festival around 12 noon on Friday. He told me he loved me and that he'd see me that night since he had to work on Saturday and then he'd go back to the festival on Sunday morning. I told him to have fun, be safe and that I'd see him that night. I went to work like normal and didn't hear anything from him all day, which didn't bother me since he's at a festival, probably had bad service and didn't want to spoil his fun by being on his phone. I got home after work around midnight and still hadn't heard anything. I was hungry and decided to have some food delivered, so I figured I'd call him and ask if he wanted something for when he got home. It went straight to voicemail twice. I decided to check his location to see if maybe he was still stuck in the parking lot and therefore would have horrible service as well, which was the case. Didn't think much more of it, ordered my food, ate, and went to bed. Decided to check his location once more and saw the bus was just pulling out of the parking area and on the road. When I woke up, he wasn't next to me. I immediately checked my phone but didn't have any missed messages or calls. This started to slightly worry me, so I looked at his location again and it showed him in a hotel somewhere. I figured he must have missed the last train home and that I'd see him soon. I went on about my day, deep cleaning the house, doing some laundry, etc., and didn't think about it anymore. Then around 4 p.m. I received a call from his boss asking if I knew where he was since he didn't show up for his shift at 3 p.m. and they couldn't reach him. I hadn't even noticed the time. I called, FaceTimed, texted and messaged him but got no response. Then around 5 p.m. I got one lousy message that he had hurt his ankle and lost his wallet. I asked what happened, if he was okay, why he didn't come home, why he didn't let me know he was going to a hotel, why he was ignoring his boss and I, when he was coming home and who he was with. None of our friends went to the festival, he went alone. It's now Sunday and he still hasn't responded nor come home. He turned his location settings off yesterday around the same time he sent that text to me. I have this really bad feeling like something is off. This is very out of character for him. We've been together for 6 years and he's never done anything remotely like this. I'm worried, I'm angry, and I feel like he's hiding something. I know he didn't plan on going to a hotel, he didn't bring a change of clothes or packed a bag. He just went for a day, planning to come back that night. Am I overreacting for having this bad feeling like something is very wrong? Relevant comments. OP on the possibility if her boyfriend is cheating. Might have strange stuff going on to people his age. OP, cheating hasn't even crossed my mind. If he were cheating, wouldn't he try to hide it and just reply? He knows I'm super chill about everything and a simple, hey, babe, staying at a hotel tonight. Had an amazing day, love you and talk to you tomorrow would be more than enough for me to not worry. That's exactly how I feel. Also, if he were cheating, wouldn't he try to hide it instead of acting like this? It makes no sense. I just spoke to the police, but since he's an adult and he's technically responded once, I have to assume he's still having fun at the festival and should call back if he still hasn't come home Tuesday morning. Does OP think it was really her boyfriend texting her? Suggesting OP to call the police to document the suspicious activity from his phone. OP, I'm not sure, I just looked back at the message and it's so plain and simple it technically could have been anyone. Also, if someone else has access to his phone, they can easily look at texts he sent and copy his mannerisms. Is the boyfriend's phone likely to be stolen and has no way to get help? Does the boyfriend do some drugs? OP, the stolen phone definitely crossed my mind too. When I finally received that message on Saturday, I had already mentioned his location being at that hotel, and afterwards the location immediately got turned off. So it could be that the person who stole it didn't realize he always shares his location with a group of 30+ people. However, that wouldn't explain why he hasn't come home yet. Like others said, it could be his phone was stolen and it was never him at the hotel. If he still had his phone and it was him, he could have used Apple Pay for the payment. Which still doesn't seem right because he would have let me know. He does sometimes, but never when he knows he has to work the next day, and he never accepts drugs from strangers. He did buy some to take with him on Sunday since he's off work Monday and Tuesday, but he left it at home. He knew he wasn't going to use it on Friday and that he'd be home to take it with him on Sunday. Update 1. We found him. Dear Redditors. Let me start off with thanking each and every one of you for your concern, kind words, and advice. I didn't expect this to get as big as it did. I'm a long-time lurker on this sub on my main profile, and it's not often I see this kind of response. When I posted yesterday morning, I was beside myself with worry, and I had already taken quite a few steps to find him, which included calling friends and family. Many people told me I was probably overreacting and he was just having fun. But it didn't sit right with me, so when coming to Reddit, I was just hoping for a few people telling me I hadn't lost my mind. When calling the hotel, they initially informed me that they couldn't give any information about guests due to the privacy law in my country. The police weren't of any help either, telling me that I should contact them again if he hadn't come home by Tuesday morning. I spoke to the management of the festival, who could confirm he scanned his ticket at the entrance on Friday. However, they work with wristbands, so there was no way for them to check if my boyfriend also came on Saturday and Sunday. With the hotel, the festival, and the police being quite dismissive, I turned to Reddit. I didn't include all these details in my original post, since I didn't want the post to get too long and I figured I could just add information by responding to all of you. That worked fine until we got to 100 plus reactions, and then 1,000 plus and even 5,000 plus, which is absolutely crazy to me. Honestly, I can't thank you enough. Your responses really helped me through this and confirmed that the chance of something bad having happened was way bigger than him just having fun. After calling the hotel again and pleading with the manager of the hotel for quite a while, they were able to inform me that there hadn't been a reservation under his name. I sent his picture to the hotel and they looked at the security footage around the time his phone showed up there, though they couldn't inform us of the results. They did promise to keep the footage on file in case the police would need it later on. I contacted the police again with this information, and while they were still hesitant to investigate further, they did give the hotel a call to request the footage of that Friday night. A little while later they called me back saying that my boyfriend hadn't been on any of the cameras all weekend, therefore they could rule out he had even been there at all. Because his phone clearly showed his location being there and I had screenshots to prove it, the police realized that something indeed wasn't right and promised me they'd look into it straight away. Me and one of our mutual friends decided to start driving towards the festival site, which was about a 4-hour drive. We knew we wouldn't be able to get in since we didn't have tickets, and even if we did there'd be no way to find him in a crowd of over 65,000 people, but at least we'd be close by if we received any news and we could ask around to see if anyone recognized his picture. Before we reached the site, I received another call from the police. My boyfriend had been in the hospital since Saturday morning. He had been found in the ditches of the parking lot of the festival around 3 a.m. together with a few other people who had also been to the festival. All of them severely beaten up and without any of their belongings. The hospital found traces of the same drug in each of their systems, which leads the police to suspect they have been preyed upon and drugged by groups of people searching for easy targets, people who were alone. Apparently it usually takes 1 to 2 days to identify an unconscious person without any form of ID on them, which is why I didn't hear anything earlier. The police are investigating further and will let us know when they found who's responsible. We already confirmed that we want to press charges. My boyfriend is okay now, and he's expected to make a smooth recovery. He broke his collarbone and his wrist, is covered in bruises and cuts, and has a light concussion. He came by very late Sunday night. Unfortunately, or luckily, he doesn't have any memories of the incident or the events that happened right before. I'm feeling so relieved and happy that we found him and he's safe, yet so incredibly angry at the people who did this to him and the others that had been found. You always hear horror stories about things like this, but you never expect it can happen to you. I'm sorry I didn't update any earlier, but as you might be able to imagine, it wasn't the first thing on my mind these last 24 hours. I'll try to answer a few more questions today should any of you still have some, and then I'll leave this be. Dear Redditors, thank you again for everything from the bottom of my heart. Commenter. None of this makes any sense. I'm calling bullshit. Zero reason for OP not to have called hospitals beforehand. No way for the muggers to know the boyfriend's passcode to text OP back. The hospital would have definitely reported this mass mugging to the police, and would obviously connect the two when OP supposedly called to report the BF missing. Unless the boyfriend was in a fudging coma, why wouldn't they ask the hospital to call someone for him? Why do the police need to investigate who's responsible when they already have the footage and timeline from the hotel? If they were all drugged up by the same substance, then why did they need to be beaten up? Where is the fudging article about this happening? This is insane, unhinged, and makes no sense. OP needs to take another creative writing workshop and do better. OP, hi there, thanks for being so thorough and voicing your concern with the truthfulness of these events. I'm not here trying to prove anything to anyone, but I expect more people will have questions like yours. Where I live, there's no point in calling hospitals. I'm listed as his emergency contact, so if they know he's there, they'll let me know. If they don't know the identity of someone in the hospital, they can't give any information due to the privacy laws, and everything has to go through the police. Not sure how they got his passcode, could have hacked the phone or could have seen him typing it in. The hospital would have definitely reported this to the police immediately. But it's possible I called the police already before they received the notification from the hospital. It's also possible I called the jurisdiction that wasn't yet aware of the incident, since every city has their own police station. My boyfriend wasn't in a coma, but they kept him sedated due to his injuries. He came by on Sunday night, but by that point we'd luckily already found him. Simply having footage of the hotel isn't enough to identify a group of people. They can piece together a timeline based on our stories, but that's not a completed investigation. I may have worded it wrong though, English isn't my first language. Your guess on that is as good as mine. In my country, things like this mostly get swept under the rug. Unless an actual death occurred, no articles will be published. There are of course stories here and there that circulate online, of people seeing drinks getting spiked and people letting others know there's thefts going on. Update 2. Hey, everyone, I honestly didn't think I'd be back here with more updates, but things have gotten, well, let's just say more complicated. I know some of you doubted my last post, and trust me, I wish I was just making all of this up. But unfortunately, life isn't that kind. So here's where we're at. After my boyfriend came home on Sunday night, things seemed to be settling down. He was in pain, obviously, and his injuries are no joke, but he was alive and that's all that mattered to me at the time. But then he started acting strange. Not the kind of strange you'd expect from someone who'd been through a traumatic experience, but like really strange. He didn't want to talk about what happened. Like, at all. Every time I tried to bring it up, he'd just brush it off, saying he couldn't remember anything and that he just wanted to move on. Now, I get that it was probably horrible for him. But then I noticed something else. He's been getting a lot of phone calls. From unknown numbers. At first, I didn't think much of it. But every time one of those calls comes in, he steps out of the room. When I asked who it was, he just shrugged it off and said it was spam. But here's the thing, he never used to get spam calls, like ever. And now it's multiple times a day? I don't buy it. Then, on Wednesday night, I found something that made my stomach drop. He left his phone on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower, and I noticed a notification pop up. It was a text message preview from a number not saved in his contacts. The message just said, "Don't forget. Tomorrow. 9 p.m. I know I shouldn't have done it, but I opened his phone. There was a whole string of messages from this unknown number, and they were all cryptic as hell. Things like, meet at the usual spot, keep it quiet this time, and no more mistakes. No names, no real details, just these short, creepy messages. And worse, it looks like this wasn't the first time he'd been communicating with this person. When he got out of the shower, I confronted him. I showed him the messages, and instead of freaking out or getting defensive, he just stared at me. Like, really stared at me, with this blank expression I've never seen before. Then he just said, "You don't need to worry about this." That's it. No explanation, no apology, nothing. Like it was totally normal for him to be involved in whatever this is. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get weirder, he asked me if I wanted to come with him the next night. I asked him, where? And all he said was, "You'll see." I don't know what to do. Part of me thinks I should just pack my bags and get the hell out of here, but another part of me is curious, what if this is all connected to what happened at the festival? What if he's in some kind of trouble, and this is his messed up way of trying to deal with it? But then again, what if it's something way worse? So, yeah, that's where I'm at. My boyfriend is acting like a total stranger, I have no idea what he's involved in, and apparently, I've been invited along for the ride. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but if I do go with him tomorrow night, I'll update you all. Assuming, I make it back. Update 3. Hey, everyone, so, I went with him. Yeah, I know. Probably not the smartest decision, but I had to see for myself what was going on. I couldn't just sit around and wonder. Plus, I didn't want him thinking I was scared, even though I totally was. So, here's how it went down. Thursday night, he told me to dress casually. Nothing fancy, just jeans and a hoodie. We left around 8:30 p.m., and the whole time in the car, he was quiet. Like, dead quiet. I tried to make small talk, ask him where we were going, but he just kept saying, "You'll see." It was honestly creeping me out. I've never seen him like this before. We drove for about an hour, way out of town, past all the normal places we'd go. Eventually, we ended up in this industrial area like warehouses and stuff. The kind of place you'd only go if you had a reason. It was deserted, just a few dim streetlights and no one else around. He pulled up in front of this old, run-down building. It didn't have any signs or anything, just a metal door with some graffiti on it. We got out, and he led me inside. At this point, I was seriously questioning my life choices, but I followed him anyway. Inside, it was strange. The place was set up like a makeshift bar. Dim lights, a few tables, a bar with some sketchy-looking bottles behind it. There were maybe 10 other people there, all of them looking like they belonged in some underground fight club or something. Rough-looking types. No one even glanced at us when we walked in. He guided me to a table in the corner and told me to wait there. He went to talk to a guy at the bar. They spoke quietly, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could tell it was serious. The guy he was talking to kept nodding, then handed him a small black bag. My boyfriend slipped it into his pocket and came back over to me. I asked him what was in the bag, but he ignored the question and just said, "Let's go." We left the building, and on the drive back, I asked him straight up, what the hell was that all about? He finally really looked at me and said, "You don't want to know. But here's the thing I do want to know. I need to know. Because whatever this is, it's clearly not something small, and it's eating at me." When we got home, I couldn't stop thinking about that black bag. He went to bed like nothing happened, but I stayed up, waiting for him to fall asleep. Around 2 a.m., when he was definitely out, I went and found the bag in his jacket pocket. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside were a bunch of small, plastic-wrapped packages. They looked like drugs, but I wasn't sure what kind. I felt sick. This is way beyond anything I imagined. I don't know if he's dealing, using, or caught up in something even worse, but whatever it is, I'm in way over my head. This morning, I confronted him again. I showed him the bag, and he just looked at me with this blank stare, like he didn't even recognize me. Then he said, "I told you to stay out of it. I can't do this anymore. I don't know who he is, what he's doing, or how to get through to him. All I know is that the person I've been with for 6 years is gone, replaced by someone I don't even recognize." I packed a bag, told him I needed some space, and left. I'm staying at a friend's place right now, trying to figure out what to do next. The worst part is, even after all this, I still love him. But I can't stay with someone who's keeping secrets like this. I just can't. I'm scared for him, but I'm also scared of him. I don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe this is the end of our relationship, or maybe there's still a way to fix things. But for now, I need to take care of myself and stay away from whatever mess he's gotten himself into. Update 4. After I left, I stayed with my friend for a few days, trying to clear my head. But last night, everything blew up. Around midnight, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was my boyfriend. His voice was frantic. He just said, "I'm sorry. They're coming. I messed up. Don't come home." Before I could ask anything, the line went dead. My heart was racing. I called the police immediately, told them everything about the weird meetup, the drugs, the text messages. They said they'd send someone to check on him. I wasn't about to just sit around, though, so I jumped in my car and sped towards our place. When I got there, the whole street was lit up with red and blue lights. Cops were everywhere, and they blocked off the road. I tried to get closer, but they stopped me. All I could see was our front door, wide open, and a bunch of officers going in and out. One of the officers finally came over to talk to me. They found my boyfriend inside unconscious, but alive. Apparently, whoever he'd been dealing with decided he was more trouble than he was worth. They'd trashed the place, and from what the officer said, it looked like they were sending a message. They rushed him to the hospital, and I followed behind. He's stable now, but they're keeping him under watch. Turns out, the cops had been tracking this drug ring for months, and my boyfriend got caught up with the wrong people at the festival. He wasn't just some random victim. He'd been working with them, trying to make some quick cash on the side. When things went south, he panicked and tried to hide it from me. I'm heartbroken, angry, relieved, all of it at once. He's going to face charges, and I don't know what's going to happen next, but one thing's for sure: I am done. I can't keep getting dragged into his mess. I love him, but I need to protect myself now. So, yeah, that's it. The guy I thought I knew turned out to be a stranger, and I'm walking away. It hurts, but it's the only choice I've got.